My entitled mother-in-law keeps making up lies and rumors about me just to tarnish my reputation with my new extended family. And now, after dealing with this for so many years, my fiancé and I are considering canceling our wedding and eloping instead, all because of how obnoxious my mother-in-law truly is being. And at this point, we seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, here's the thing. My fiancé and I are considering canceling our wedding and simply eloping instead, all because of my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law has never tried to have a positive relationship with me ever. She makes sure I'm not included in conversations. She belittles my achievements and talks down to me, and things especially escalated when I was planning my fiancé's 30th birthday. My mother-in-law fought me on every single detail and accused me of not knowing my fiancé at all. For reference, I planned a golf weekend away from him and his family, and I did that because he loves golf. Well, my fiancé confronted my mother-in-law and asked why she doesn't like me. And that's when she finally admitted that yes, she doesn't like me. She doesn't like my partner driving me to his family events. She didn't like that it took me a month to find employment when I moved to a different town to be with my fiancé. My fiancé would receive calls and text messages from my mother-in-law on a daily basis, and if he doesn't respond, she would blame me for that. My fiancé told her if she doesn't stop this behavior towards me, he will no longer speak with her. And I even agreed to meet with my mother-in-law to try and smooth things over, just so we could all move forward, but she simply never took me up on it. And for a while, things seemed okay, but fast forward to my fiancé's brother's wedding, and trust me, things got really weird. The wedding day arrives, and we were to be at the venue at 4:00 p.m. Well, 5 minutes to 2 p.m., my fiancé receives a phone call from my mother-in-law saying that the family photo shoot is in 5 minutes. And here's the thing, we had not been told of a family photo shoot at all. My mother-in-law demands that we arrive at 2 o'clock for just that. So we frantically get ready, and we arrive at the house where the wedding is taking place. And you know what? There was never even a photo shoot planned. My mother-in-law comes out in her pajamas and tries to hand me suit shirts that she wanted me to iron, but I simply refused. She ended up snapping at me, asking where my son is. But I explained that my son was never coming, as he's at the hotel and he's staying there. Well, my mother-in-law continues stating that everyone thought that he would be there, but I responded that he was never coming and that the RSVP was just for me and my fiancé. And here's the thing, she was told multiple times that my son was not going to be there. Fast forward and the ceremony is over, and I started to have guests come up to me asking where my son is. Now, I don't even know these people by name, but I just tell them that he's at the hotel. And when I said that, their looks of disgust completely threw me off. I eventually realized that my new friends had stopped talking to me, and I realized that these people were being told my son was at the hotel, but they were not told that he is old enough to be there by himself. He is a teenager after all. And very quickly, the wedding was a place of ridicule and disgust all towards me. Fast forward to another incident, and on Christmas Day at my mother-in-law's house, her family scurried away from me on arrival, refusing to hug me or even greet me. One man, whom I met maybe about 2 years ago, aggressively accused me of leaving my son alone on Christmas Day, even though my son was at his father's place this year. The rumor has continued, and now not only does my mother-in-law hate me, but so does her entire family. I made up an excuse to announce the fact that my son was a teenager who had just finished his first year of high school at the top of his class. And it's right about then everybody's jaw dropped. None of them had a single clue that he was a teenager. And after I did that, my mother-in-law hurried out the room. Well, now my fiancé wants to cancel the wedding and just simply elope, all because of his mother. My fiancé is demanding that I speak with my mother-in-law one last time in order for him to finally cut her off. So honestly, would we be jerks if we cancel our wedding because of this? What should we do? Wow, your mother-in-law is absolutely trying to ruin your life and your wedding. Like, this literally just doesn't make any sense to me. She treats you like garbage for literally no reason. She blames all these supposed problems on you. And worst of all, she is lying about you just to hurt your reputation. Like, just imagine trying to plan a wedding with this lady. She's clearly trying to like hurt your reputation and make your life a living nightmare, despite the fact that you and your fiance are on the same page. So honestly, I would not want to plan a wedding with this woman. I would not want her anywhere near my wedding, because I know for a fact if I was in your shoes, she would probably try everything that she could just to ruin the experience. So honestly, I don't think anybody would blame you for just canceling your wedding and eloping instead, because your mother-in-law sounds insane, and there's no way I would ever want to put up with that if if I was in your shoes. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My entitled father is constantly trying to start arguments with me, all because my fiance is from South Korea, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So my fiance is currently in South Korea while I'm living in New York. We're doing long distance for a bit, and it's been very hard on us to be apart, but I know that it won't last. Luckily for us, it will be a year max of being apart, so it is not a very long time. I have spent some time in South Korea, and I really love it there. I'm going back in August for the month, and I'm very excited. Of course, whenever I get back to South Korea, my parents don't hold back from expressing their concerns about the tensions between North and South Korea. My fiance's dad is the top military official of South Korea who has recently retired, so I trust him, my future father-in-law, rather than what I see in the media. I have talked to my future father-in-law when I was in South Korea about this very same subject, and he said he can't figure out why so many people in the United States are afraid of Kim Jong-un. He thinks the man is a big joke. My parents always go as far as to say that people in South Korea are living with bags over their heads and are completely blind to the problems with North Korea. I end up telling my parents to acknowledge the issues that we have in the US first, rather than talking poorly about South Korea. The other day, my dad sent in the family group chat an article about tensions between North and South Korea. I said in the chat, please refrain from sending me anything having to do with North and South Korea. Well, tonight during dinner, my dad pulled up an article about North and South Korea, and he showed it to me while laughing and smiling. Well, let's just say I finally blew up on him. I told him that I asked him to refrain from showing me this type of stuff, and that's when he said that I'm just as ignorant as everybody else in South Korea. I then raised my voice, and I said that I work in a school, so I have a higher chance of something horrible happening to me there, and that I have felt safe every single time I've been to South Korea. My dad told me he's sick of hearing how amazing South Korea is, and that I'm too blinded by how dangerous it really is there. I ended up yelling some more, and then I just left. Now, here's the thing. I'm not proud of raising my voice, but I'm so upset with my dad with the way he smiled and laughed, like he was taking pride in bringing this up again. Long distance is already hard enough, and I don't want to be more scared of something happening to my fiance. A lot of Koreans I know don't have any fear regarding North Korea, and I tried to express that to my parents, but they completely put it down and tell me that they are delusional and they are blinded to the real problems. I'm honestly so upset, and I seriously don't know what to do. In my opinion, I think your parents are completely out of line. Your dad is a massive jerk, and you are completely right. He's trying to fearmonger you instead of, I don't know, focusing on issues in our own country, because trust me, here in America, we've got plenty of problems we gotta fix first. And it really seems like he's only bringing this up to try and dissuade you from getting married to this guy. Like, that is seriously not okay, and that is incredibly toxic. And personally, I think you have it right. You're trusting someone from South Korea who has a much clearer view of what's happening on that side of the planet. Like, if there's anybody who's delusional and doesn't know what they're talking about, it's your dad. He doesn't live there. He literally doesn't understand any of the nuance of living in South Korea, and he is completely out of line to assume that South Koreans are delusional to what's happening, because I'm pretty sure they're the most qualified to understand exactly what's happening. Also, it really seems like he's only doing this to try and like push your buttons. Like, your reaction is all he wants. He just wants you to get upset. So of course he's gonna bring up all these articles that are incredibly scary just to try and not only mess with you, but also prevent you from going to South Korea. And that is honestly so unacceptable. And I know if I was in your shoes, I would be putting him on an information diet like right away. This guy is not gonna know anything about what I'm actively doing, and since this guy seriously can't be supportive in any kind of way, then this is the result that he's gonna have to live with. Am I the jerk for refusing to be adopted by my stepmother just to make the family look better in the eyes of the extended family? Because right now, I'm not sure what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things out, my dad got married to Eve last year. Eve is not her real name, but she does have 2 kids. Her son is 4 now, and her daughter is 2. There's a lot of deep stuff in Eve's background and in the kids with their paternal side of the family, but they really had nobody other than Eve until my dad and Eve met. Once they got married, my dad adopted them, and then my dad's relatives didn't want the kids to be treated the same as the rest of the grandkids, and told my dad they would never mean as much to them as the rest of the biological family would. So he told them to get lost, and he cut ties with them. When all 3 sides were basically not in the picture, my dad asked my mom mom's family if they would embrace my step-siblings as family and treat them the way they would with me because they were now siblings, and that my family and I love them, so it was important to him to see them being embraced by the family. Well, my family actually asked me if what my dad said was true, and I told them that it was not. I said I hardly even knew the kids, let alone love them. So my family told my dad they would never see my step-siblings as their grandkids. I should also make it clear that my dad and maternal family did not remain close or like family after my mom passed away. I still saw my family, but dad was never involved, and he would go to his own family when I was with mine. I never liked my dad's family, so it was never a huge deal to me to not see them, and it's not a huge deal to not have them around at all. They were always really annoying about how girly I am, and they could never believe I would want to have a manly job when I graduate. Eve was pretty depressed when she realized that she didn't make her kids' family all that much bigger, and that they had been rejected even more. So my dad decided that we would be the tightest unit, and we would all just choose each other, just so they would know that they were chosen and loved, despite all the rejection that they just faced. And that's when my dad decided that for this to work, I should let Eve adopt me. And let me just tell you something, I refused without hearing anything else. And I told him that Eve will never adopt me, and that I don't care how much of a nice story it paints for her kids, because I am not doing that for them. He told me that they are little, and Eve said it would mean so much to them. Dad told me that part of being a big sibling is putting the younger siblings first, but I told them the kids were never going to be my priority, and I would never go out of my way for them like that. Dad offered a compromise then of me writing and signing a contract saying that I would always be their big brother, and I was so lucky to choose two awesome siblings, which I said no to as well. Then the adoption stuff was pushed even more. Eve tried telling me that I would still be able to call her Eve most of the time, but just to call her mom in front of her kids. Dad then said I was being selfish for refusing to do this, and reiterated that the kids should be our priority. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Honestly, I don't think you're the jerk at all, and I really think your dad and Eve are being really obnoxious here. Like, you have made it very clear that you're not interested in being adopted, and yet these people are trying to push it on you just so they can look good. And it doesn't matter what they're trying to say, honestly, I really think they're only doing this for appearance. They want to make it look like everybody in the family's on board, and that the whole family is just happy and really enjoying their time together. And obviously that's a lie. Obviously there's a lot of contention going on, because both of the families have turned their backs on your step-siblings and your stepmom. But with all things considered and all of that stuff that really is outside of your control, in my opinion, I think it's awful that they would try to force you to get adopted by Eve. That is incredibly unacceptable, and I really don't think you deserve that in the slightest. Today, I messed up by reading Facebook messages from my ex-girlfriend of 10 years ago. And even though I have a wife, a kid, and a very successful career, I feel very depressed, and I now really regret looking at all those messages. Here's what happened. Okay, so today, out of boredom, I logged into Facebook for the first time in many years. I ended up going to my Facebook messages and seeing a bunch of old messages. Out of curiosity, I scrolled down to see how far back I could go, and it was super interesting to me. It was like a time capsule. Well, eventually though, I stumbled upon messages between me and my ex-girlfriend. As a bit of background, she was the one that got away. We were high school sweethearts that continued dating through college, and we dated for nearly 5 years. We were head over heels in love with each other. Her family loved me, and my family loved her. This may sound cliche, but I knew from the day I met her that I wanted to marry this girl. She was sweet and kind, incredibly beautiful and smart and very thoughtful. She was also honest, funny, and we just got along so well together. It's like we really were made for each other. Well, we ended up going to different colleges, and we were both each other's first, and she clearly got a lot of attention from other guys, and she started to think if I was really going to be her first and last. And as a result, she wanted to see what else is out there for her. And in hindsight, I don't blame her, and I'm not mad at her for it. We met at a young age, and she had every right to do this. Anyways, it took me many years to get to a point where I wasn't sad over the breakup. We broke up in 2013, and 2017 was when I was at a point where I could think about our relationship and it didn't make me sad. Well, that is until today. Now, I still think about our relationship very frequently, and I don't think I will ever completely get over this relationship, but I still can't let that put a pause on my life. I needed to accept that it was over, accept that I may never fully heal from it, and just move on with my life. So I did, and I'm at a point where I'm now happy and I no longer feel sad thinking about the relationship. relationship. But it all came tumbling down after I read those messages. She is married with a child, and I am married with a child. I have a successful career, a house, and a great relationship with my wife. I love her and my son, I really do. But reading those messages reminded me of how different my love for my high school sweetheart really was. I will never experience that sort of love ever again. Just her existence in my life made me feel so fulfilled, like nothing else mattered. Reading those messages reminded me of how much we loved each other and what that all felt like. It made me miss those days that I'll never ever be able to get back. So honestly, the moral of this story is that you don't want to read old Facebook messages if you're not ready to relive the past. Yeah, I can understand where you're coming from. You read up on these old messages and you're looking back on your life and you're like, man, I wish I still had that in some kind of way. And I can completely understand that. And I know you're not like implying that you're going to cheat on your wife or anything like that. Obviously, and I think you know this, all that is better in the past and you should leave it in the past and not pursue it or anything like that. But also, it's important to know that you're in a much better place now. You have a wife and a kid and a really successful job. And sure, you don't really feel that love that you used to have when you were a kid, but at least you can look forward and like focus on the people that you do have in your life. So hopefully you don't look through any more messages because I think this is only going to cause more problems. And I think you're better off just looking forward and trying to make the best of the future. I discovered that my partner lied to me about his parents being dead, and now I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so I'm not even sure where to begin with this because there are so many moving parts to this, so please just bear with me. I'm a 24-year-old female and I met my partner who's 24 years old in February last year in a college class. We instantly connected, and one of the main things we connected on was my work in child welfare. He had told me that he spent a lot of time in foster care as his mother and father both passed away when he was a baby, and it was one of the first things we deeply talked about together. Over the months, we never really established we were in a relationship, but now we're at a point where we call each other our partner and we are seeing each other exclusively. However, it has always felt like something was holding us back from becoming official, and I think it's because he lied to me about his family being dead. Basically, a few months into us going out, I started to notice some gaps in things that he would tell me, such as names of family members, details about his childhood, etc. And he was very, very weird with social media. Well, one day I went to look him up on Facebook and I simply could not find his profile. This was a bit odd, as I remember I looked him up a while back and I was able to find him. So I had my friends look him up and they found him no problem. We believe he blocked me because on his page and tagged post, he was interacting with people who have the same last name as him and had posted about him being the younger brother, and one woman posted how she was a proud mother of him. Now, this would check out if he had a foster family, but he asserted time and again that he never had a foster family and still has his biological father's last name. Now, this is where things get really weird. He told me that his middle name was the first name of his dad, and that he looked exactly like his dad when he was younger. Well, when we went on Facebook, we found a guy with his middle name as his first name, as well as the same last name, and this guy looked exactly like my partner and had pictures of him on his page. After some more searching, we found public records that showed that he lived with this older guy and older woman who we are now certain are his parents. The worst part of this is that we were in the car one day and his phone connected to Bluetooth and he had an incoming call with the screen name of Dad. Now, I pretended that I had not seen it because I just froze in confusion, and since then I've been stuck with what to do. Now, there is a lot more we found, but the main thing here is that I found a lot that shows he lied to me about these really huge things. I tried easing the waters recently and asked why I couldn't find him on Facebook, and he made a comment along the lines of saying, "What's really on my social media? I am nervous of finding you." And then he would make another comment the next day where he would say, "What did you find online when you looked me up?" And I just really don't know what to do here. I don't know how to approach this with him or if I even should. I am starting to think that I love this person even despite this lie, and it's all just been eating me up inside. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Yeah, this guy lied to you and said that his parents are dead, but now that you have found out the truth, you still love this guy? Seriously, what in the world is going on here? If I had a significant other who lied to me straight up and said, "Yeah, my family's dead," only to then find out that they lied about that fact about them, I would be in such a state of shock, I don't even know what I would do besides break up with them. Like, seriously, in my opinion, this is a huge red flag. No one just lies about their parents dying without some kind of like weird motive. Unless he's part of witness protection or secretly a part of the CIA or something like that. Like, there's no real excusable reason why this guy would lie and be like, "Yeah, my parents are dead." Like, that's crazy crazy to me. I can't be the only one who thinks that, right? Like, this behavior is just really creepy in my opinion. And I know if I was in your shoes, there's no way I would ever give him the time of day. Because in my opinion, it really seems like this guy concocted this weird story about being an orphan just so he could gather sympathy from you based on your work. Like, he literally lied to you just so you would fall in love with him. And it also makes me wonder, like, what else has this guy lied about? Are there other hobbies that you supposedly have in common that you've never seen him participate in, yet he would swear that he loves all these other things that you like as well? Like, this guy sounds like a massive con artist, and I can't imagine anyone sticking with him. So hopefully you can figure this out, because in my opinion, this is incredibly creepy, and there is literally no good excuse for someone to lie about their parents being dead. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out Easy Mode. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.